Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is Jesse Benedetti, and we have Lisa House. Say hello, Lisa.
Hello, Lisa.
Cute. All right. Welcome back to another edition of Get Off Your Ass and Move. That's not really the name of this. But it's funny. All right. So what we're going to talk a little bit about today is addiction, but we're going to talk about food, nutrition, exercise, in a different way of talking about addiction. It's not talking about as much. We talk a lot about people are addicted to food. People are even addicted to working out. People are addicted to not working out. People are addicted to procrastination. So I was just thinking about this would be a good topic to think about, especially during the summer months as we get back on track or stay on track with whatever we're doing. I was thinking the other day, a lot of people may or may not know this about my life and my history, but my dad growing up, my dad, he was an alcoholic. He was an alcoholic until the day he died, progressively getting worse and worse and worse. Not till recently did I notice a lot of things that were very, very similar with his alcoholism, and food and nutrition and things like that. Not necessarily the addiction part of being addicted to food and the feelings and all the dopamine and the good things that come from that, but the other side of it. When we try to break habits, just like with alcohol and drugs and tobacco, anything else, when we try to break habits, if you've ever tried to break one of those chemical habits, you normally will go through withdrawals. Now, they can vary from just having some shakes, some cold sweats, all kind of different things. And I think that it was alcohol. If you do it incorrectly, you can actually die. Right, Lisa?
Yeah, I'm not a licensed psychologist or psychiatrist or medical professional. I am a nurse. Um, but so I want to have that disclaimer out there. But yes, of course, if you overuse alcohol, you can die.
I mean, from the withdrawal standpoint.
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Okay, so look that up, Google it up, but I'm telling you it's a fact. So there we go. But we'll talk about that in another time. But we're going to talk about a little bit about the withdrawal symptoms of actually changing your lifestyle. When you change your lifestyle, so you start eating better and you start working out, your body is going to go through some resistance. A lot of resistance sometimes, depending on how long you've been nurturing in this habit of bad eating or bad physical fitness and things like that. It will try to put you in a constant state of a comfort zone. It's going to try to keep you there. So it's going to make you go through some things where you're trying to resist it, and you're going to want to go back to eating the same way because it makes you feel good. And so with Lisa and her nursing background, I wanted to talk a little bit and ask her some questions, so that people can understand that this is a common thing. It's not easy to go through. That's why it's so hard. And that's why maybe only 6% or less people each year actually accomplish their goals, change their lifestyle habits and things like that, or why most people will fall off the wagon in the food and the nutrition and the fitness and then have to start all over again or just cash in the chips. So could you please explain a little bit about how the similarities of this food and alcohol transition, going from not doing it to doing it, will actually result in the withdrawals as much as quitting some other type of drug?
Right. So, like I said, I'm not licensed in medicine, or psychology, psychiatry, or an MD. I do have a background in nursing, in addition to my nutrition certifications, and my personal training certifications. So, what the research says about food, especially there's a lot of research done on obesity and people who are, by medical definition, obese, and they try to lose weight. You should know that in your adipose tissue is fat, right? So our fat cells hold toxins. And when we start to lose fat, weight, those toxins are released into the bloodstream. So a person might feel good initially while they're losing weight, and then they might feel like, oh my God, I need that donut, or I need that sugar, whatever the craving is, whatever the junk food is. And so it's the body's way of kind of saying, it's cleansing itself, but the person has a response that they feel like, oh my gosh, I need to have that food so I feel better. They'll go and eat the food and feel better. So then by deduction, they think, oh, well, I'm healthier if I just eat my old way, right? And, there's the saying something to the effect of, you kind of have to go through the pain before you can, get to the other side. This whole weight loss journey, and again, the research is focused on people with obesity, is that, as they're losing the weight, they're having these feelings. And so how can you combat those feelings? There's a multitude of things that you can do. One, you should have a balanced diet, balanced being macros, which we talked about before: protein, carbohydrates, and fats, not excluding a particular macro, right? So knowing that if, for instance, you are medically obese and you're avoiding the simple sugars, the cookies, the donuts, the crap food, right? I read an article that said, if the food existed before 1900, don't eat it. I mean, think about that, right? So Oreos, Twinkies, Dunkin' Donuts, Krispy Kreme, none that wasn't around here before 1900, right? And the message was from a physician, and his message was, it's crap, right? Junk in equals junk out, and you're going to feel like junk, right? So I kind of digress, but how to combat that is to have a balanced diet of good carbohydrates, rice, sweet potatoes, oatmeal, rice cakes, things that are whole natural foods, solid proteins, lean proteins, and then good fats, which we talked about last time. So to have a balance of those macros is really important. And then also increase your protein. I think, contrary to popular belief, people think that more fat will make you less hungry, or more carbs might make you less hungry. It's actually the higher your protein intake that actually helps with satiety. Satiety is the word that means you feel full. Drinking lots of water and staying hydrated can also help. Getting a good night's sleep can also help. So you have tools, at your disposal to help you combat these kind of crash feelings of, I don't feel well. You're fine if you're eating a balanced diet with plenty of calories. And again, that's individualized, it depends on each person. Then you don't need that food. Your body's just trying to kind of trick you and saying, no, let's go eat that again because you're going to feel better. You feel better, and then you're in this vicious cycle, and you have to break that cycle. What that threshold is for people, it depends. It varies from person to person. But it's just really important to have, the knowledge, I guess, to get through that, and to have somebody to talk through it with is also very important. To have a support system and a coach, someone that you can say, hey, I'm feeling like this. Is this normal? What could I eat to kind of satisfy that craving?
So that's a good point, and that's actually, I mean, it's not to make a nice little shameless plug for Lisa and myself, that we are those coaches that do that. But whether they're us or somebody else, we all need that support system, even at a high level of physical competition with competing in bodybuilding, or like with Lisa competing in bikini. We all need coaches to help that, because our mind plays tricks on us, our mind and our body. Real quick question with that, with clients that you've worked with in the past or present, what is something that you can tell people that are out there listening that say, well, I know my body, I know how I work, and I know my body, although they're not achieving the goals that they want to, but it's hard to argue with somebody who says that they know their body.
Well, if they knew their body, then their goal would already be reached. I know, I'm not being flip. I'm just saying, look, if you really truly knew your body, right? We all know to some extent how our body functions, but we don't know exactly, right? We just know how we're living. Whatever that balance is for us, that's what's normal. I'll give you an example. My mother is type 2 diabetic, right? She lives in a blood sugar level of 300, which is very dangerous, very, very dangerous. Normal should be under 100, 60 to like 90. But when she starts to go down to even 200, she says, I'm having a blood sugar attack. I'm having a low blood sugar attack. I need sweets. I need ice cream. I need ginger ale. And she actually like kind of experiences the same type of symptoms. She doesn't have low blood sugar. She just has low blood sugar for her in her head, right? But from her body standpoint, it's her body's way of trying to get rid of the poison, get rid of the toxin. Like, let's get rid of this high blood sugar because it's not good for you. Right. And so, but her mind then says, I don't feel good. I need to go back and eat the stuff that makes me feel good. And it's just like I said, it's this really vicious cycle. She doesn't need the sugar. She just thinks she needs the sugar. So my mom thinks she knows her body. She doesn't from a medical health standpoint. Does that make sense?
So are you saying that it could be psychosomatic sometimes, based off of their experiences in the past?
Well, I mean, again, I'm not a licensed psychologist or social worker or psychiatrist, sociologist. I don't know. I'm not a licensed medical professional in that area or psychologist. But from a psychosomatic, standpoint, but it can it. And I don't know that it's something that people are consciously doing, right? I think it's a true feeling. I think they're actually really experiencing it. That's what the literature says anyway. It's like your body, there's a bunch of hormones, and I could go into a lot of detail, but I won't because we don't have a lot of time, and I think people would just start to snooze off. But there are hormones that interplay with your brain that tell your brain when you're full, when you're hungry, and when you're obese. Those hormones are all out of whack, right? So the communication between your, from the hormones to the brain and the brain to the body is out of whack. So your brain could be saying, I'm hungry, but you're not hungry. Does that make sense? Because the hormones aren't, that whole connection, that whole communication is off.
So let me play devil's advocate for a second. What if I say, well, this worked for me before when I was in my best shape ever. This is what I was doing before X, Y, and Z.
Well, I guess I don't know what before means. And then what is the person? I mean, I guess give me a little bit more information.
So I'll take my own example. Let's say that a few years ago, I did a 90-day program and I got in the best lean shape of my life and everything was working great. And then, so that all worked in that experience. And then maybe fast forward 15, 20 years. And, I approached somebody and I talked about how to get lean again. I want to get back in that same shape, but I don't necessarily I want to have something more sustainable. And I say, well, this is what worked for me before. So if why are you doing something differently now?
Oh, gotcha. Well, I mean, we don't live in one point in time, right? And if you're talking 15, 20 years, you're older, your metabolism's different, your hormones are different, your hormones interact with your body differently, your body fat composition's probably different, your diet probably is different, your environment may be different. There are a lot of factors that go into play as to what worked before, being, a decade plus or so ago, versus what's now. So you have to take your situation as it is currently, and you can use that as a reference. But to say, well, I did this before, it should work again, and if it doesn't work again, there's an issue with whatever, you have to take it as it is today.
So would it be fair to say, well, if it's not working like it did before, it's just because I'm old?
No, I mean, age has a factor, is a factor, like I said, because of all of the different things that happen with fat, um, the way we metabolize fat, our metabolic status, our metabolic health is different as we age. But it's, anyone can use an excuse, right? So to say I can't do that because I'm old, no, that's not true. You can do it. It might just be different than what you did before. It might look differently, but you can still do it.
That's great. So just one more question before we get off of here. I just want to keep it nice and short. We're again talking about the differences between the withdrawal symptoms of stuff you would feel if you've ever come off of drugs, alcohol, or anything like that, and the same thing with switching. Not the withdrawal symptoms of of something after a fitness workout, but we're talking more about switching from an unhealthy lifestyle into a healthy lifestyle. You can feel similar symptoms. There are many reports out there that talk about the similarities of what's happening chemically inside of your body, and that's what we're talking about right now. And I just want to take the last little bit here to talk a little bit about it happens on every level. It's actually, in my opinion, just my layperson opinion of this, it actually happens more enhanced or more heightened at a higher level. So what I've taken, for example, so for the past few months, just like Lisa has been doing, we've been training for bodybuilding competitions. So Lisa competes this weekend. I've competed a few times this year. but it's at our highest level of being clean and really strict and really restrictive in our eating and disciplined with what we're doing. So when that Saturday comes for me, and that Saturday comes and I have a cheat meal, not a cheat day, but I have a cheat meal, I can feel how bad that makes me feel. Like literally it makes me more depressed. It makes me feel what I was feeling all those other times, all those other days, but now it wakes me back up into it. So it's something that you can see. It's just like if you were not eating like your favorite food, say pizza, and you didn't eat pizza for 3 months, and all of a sudden you ate it. Oh my God, that's gonna be the best pizza you've ever had in your whole life, right? So it's the same idea no matter what level you're in. So when you look at people that are on stage for bodybuilding, they're like, oh, they never go through that. They go through it at a much more heightened level because their body is so accustomed to that. Have you gone through feelings of the same kind of feelings after, and you've done your cheat meal or you've eaten stuff not on the diet?
Yeah, of course. So, I actually have my suitcases packed, ready to leave in 2 days, and in there you will see one of my food vices, caramel M&Ms. I love them very much, and so I have the pack of caramel M&Ms in my bag, and I look forward to it. Right? It's kind of really the only time that I eat it is after a competition, and I eat the whole bag. I treat myself. But it's that initial anticipation. You're excited because you've been working so hard, you've been eating so clean, and then I do have it. It tastes amazing initially. And then that rest of the day, I'll probably have pizza. That's usually my celebration go-to food, or Mexican. And then, the next day, I feel bloated. I feel really full because it's not whole natural food. And maybe we can talk about whole natural foods at another time, and the importance of eating whole natural foods versus processed foods. But my body's not used to eating processed foods, right? Or foods that are different in the macro content, i.e., pizza, which is all carbohydrates and fat, and not like the really good complex carbohydrates. So I get that feeling of bloat, kind of lethargy, fatigue. I don't have as much energy as I typically do. I don't sleep as well as I typically do. Yeah, so I do experience that, but I also know that it's transient, it's temporary, because I'm going to get right back on it afterwards.
Do you find it to be for personally for myself? Every time I even though I feel like that and I know getting back on will make me feel better, I still feel that procrastinate, that hesitancy, because it's just my body is already transforming back to feeling like it was before. It's getting used to that same old conditioning that it was before. Is it hard for you to go back onto that after you've done it for a day or two?
I mean, I guess it depends on circumstances as well, and everybody is kind of the captain of their own ship. I mean, I'm a firm believer of that. And if you're trying to break a habit, I highly recommend. I'm going to give a plug to James Clear, Atomic Habits. It's phenomenal, and he actually has tools on, like a habit scorecard and all sorts of things that you can do to try to break habits and do them at kind of a micro level, very small steps. So I guess I'm saying all of that because I've trained myself over the years to, okay, I might give myself, whenever my last competition of the season is going to be, I give myself through the holidays, and then I know January 1, regardless, I'm flipping the switch. And I just flip the switch. But it's because I've built habits throughout my entire life to be able to do that, right? I didn't wake up like that. And I wasn't like that in my 20s at all. I actually ate crappy in my 20s. I mean, I would eat one meal a day, probably French fries, maybe a piece of pizza. That's it. So I ate really, really crappy in my 20s, and I felt like crap, right? My muscle density was very poor. My brother called me a skinny fat chick. It offended me, but also motivated me to start to get into weight training and fitness. So yes, you eat like I said before. And it's very easy to get back into that. I guess to answer your question, it can be if you don't have built-in habits.
So that's what we're going to end with right there. So I appreciate your help, Lisa. We just talking about built-in habits, creating those habits, having help. None of us, just make sure you understand, none of us have done this by ourselves. So creating the habits, we didn't just all of a sudden do it. Yes, we put the work in, and we have to actually be ultimately control, but we have to surround ourselves with people that are going to help support us and help give us the knowledge. So just keep that in mind as you're going through this. If there's stuff that we can do to help you, please reach out, let us know. Otherwise, just understand you're going to go through some trials and tribulations. Just keep consistent, keep on track, and keep going. And last but not least, just want to throw a nice big good luck. Good luck to Lisa for her competition this weekend. She's off getting going for her pro card, and so she can kick some more ass and take some more names. So good luck to you.
Thank you.
And we'll look forward to seeing the rest of you again soon. Thanks for being here. Peace.
Bye-bye.